Hello everybody, I'm Michael Mitchell and I'm from the University of Cumbria, and I'm here to talk to you about the Film and Television programme and the Wildlife Media programme. What I'm going to do as I go through my talk is I'm going to talk about both programmes, but at the same time there's lots of things that they have in common, but also there's a number of things that make them unique. The things, that kind of things that they all have in common is perhaps that sense of both of these programs are a real voyage of discovery for you, the creative practitioner. And although there's as I go through this presentation, I'll talk very much about some of the real specifics in terms of what you'll be doing and some of the great advantages of coming and studying at the University of Cumbria. I think it's important to think of some of those kind of key things that you'll be learning and some of the activities that you'll be involved in. And I've written a list, and you can probably see it's quite a long list. And as I was putting the presentation together, I kept kind of taking bits out and putting things back, but I thought it was probably quite important to just take the time and actually look at some of these things and think about some of these ideas and why they're really important for you as a creative person, as a filmmaker, as a broadcaster, as a wildlife filmmaker or a wildlife photographer. Some of the skills and some of the ideas that you'll be developing when you come and join us on these programs. And perhaps the most important thing is right at the top of my list, and that's that concept of developing an idea. Idea development is absolutely the key currency for what we are interested in and actually getting out of you, the individual. It is new ideas, it is ideas that change the world, and that's what I know that you're interested in if you're coming onto this program, is you're wanting to be an agent of change. You're wanting to have impact. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to spend time from the day you arrive until the day you leave, beginning to get you to think about and beginning to get you to develop well, I guess the best way to describe it is exercise that muscle that is the muscle that is developing ideas. And once we've got those brilliant ideas, we start to go on that different type of journey of giving them a structure and letting the structure guide you, but also letting the structure just think about how that gives you those kind of opportunities. And perhaps that next step is thinking about writing scripts, because the way that you get your idea across to somebody is about developing and beginning to speak to an audience. And for most media-based projects, that means a script, that means story. And I don't really just mean story from a purely fiction sense, from a make-believe sense. Factual documentary work is the way that you tell the story. In other words, its structure is absolutely vital. And what we'll do is we'll expose you to lots of different ways of thinking about that and lots of different ways that you can use story structure and script writing to really help mold and craft your idea. And once you've got that up and running, built in with that brilliant idea, we start moving into those phases that are about what it is you're going to make, and that's pre-production. That's that pre-production process. So up till now, this is going to, what we've talked about is true of whether you're doing traditional filmmaking, whether you're making documentaries, or whether you are making a wildlife film or a series of wildlife photographs. At this stage, you're beginning to form it, and what that means for you is that you begin to decide what it is you're making. So that pre-production helps you start making those decisions, and helps you start to pull together all the different assets and components that you're going to need to make that project whether it be a film, an exhibition, a series of photographs, whatever. So whatever it is, that pre-production process will help define that. And then as you travel through the programs, whether they be the wildlife media program or whether it be the film and television program, you're going to start exposing yourself to lots of different things and lots of different ideas. So you're going to look at film production, and by film production I'm meaning that very much that single camera, perhaps with a much more cinematic feel to it than television. You're going to look at editing and post-production and how editing can help sharpen the idea of your story, help craft and develop the idea, and really hopefully that editing is that distillation of the idea and allowing you to speak to your audience, whoever your audience is. So you're going to also look at documentary. You're going to work in a multi-camera TV production setting, and we're going to ask you to think about looking at experimental filmmaking. We're going to ask you to look at those different kind of challenges. Experimental or kind of art-based filmmaking, gallery-based filmmaking may not be your cup of tea, and it may not be what you think that you're interested in, but that sense of experimentation and using experimentation to help you all the way back to that concept of idea development, just have more tools in your toolkit to allow you to make those developmental ideas. We're also going to introduce you to fast tasks and film challenges. We're going to look at weekends where we may give you a project. We may all get together and work on projects. We traditionally engage and ask our students and learners to be part of film festivals, to submit their work and expose their work to a whole range of different audiences, out with the audience in the comfort zone of home. So we do that with film festivals. We're also, once our friend the pandemic is gone, return to having international trips. We've had a range of trips over the last number of years. Students have gone in a formal sense to across to North America, to New York. They've been to Berlin. There's been trips to Hungary in Central Europe. All of those trips helping and to inform and to expand everyone's vision in terms of what it is that can help and inform your work. The other thing is, and this is perhaps much more specific around the wildlife media, we're going to ask you to think about wildlife and biodiversity. We're going to ask you to think about what animal behavior and habitat might look like. Specifically within the wildlife program, we're also going to ask you to really enhance your technical skills in photography, and for both sets of programs we're going to ask you to increase those technical skills in filmmaking. And we're going to ask you to begin to blend your kind of creative and innovative side of your brain with the more technical and scientific side of your brain. Doing that gives you confidence. Technical confidence gives you the place and the space to be creative because you know how to do things. We're also really interested in those much broader attributes. So we're going to also ask you to think about developing your research skills, being able to write for different audiences, writing for academic audiences like someone like myself who'd be marking your work, but also writing for TV companies or broadcasters or people that are funding bodies. Will also perhaps ask you to begin to develop some of those skills in terms of thinking about particularly this is in the wildlife program, but not exclusively, beginning to think of journalism and what that means, and beginning to write and develop copy. The other thing that we're so interested in getting you to develop is your personal presentation skills. I guess I could have stripped all of these words out and put one word in, and I think that's the word that kind of encapsulates everything here. We're really interested in you building and developing your confidence as a media practitioner. So let me tell you a little more about the course. So we have really experienced academic lecturers. We have in our team, we have people that are continuing to work for the BBC, Discovery Channel, Channel 4 over here in the UK, and we also have people that have made and produced feature-length work. One of our tutors co-wrote and directed a horror film 3 or 4 years ago that opened in 5 or 6 cinemas in the States. So that's kind of really, really impressive. We keep lots of really key links with employers. We develop live projects and really look to assist you in getting work experience. Work experience, it isn't compulsory to the program, but it's something that we really, really encourage, and I'll touch a bit on this and other things in a moment. We also like to bring in a number of key experts. Again, I'm going to talk about those guys in a minute, but just as a for example, and his name will pop up again, the picture of the man in the yellow coat that you can see there, that's Keith Partridge, and he's an Emmy award-winning cinematographer. He was the cinematographer on the really famous climbing film Touching the Void. He's worked for the Discovery Channel for a number of years, working in a whole range of projects. He's worked with Attenborough. He's kind of out there doing all of those things that we all kind of wish we were doing. So there's those kind of professionals and that professional input. We try to maintain where we can a level of industry equipment. All our equipment is of broadcast standard. All of that equipment is to HD or 4K. So it's absolutely fantastic equipment that will really help you get the results that you need. And we like to think of our programs as being really highly practical programs, but with a really strong grounding and bedding in academic learning, and we combine that often with trying to really be innovative in the way that we approach that learning. So we use outdoor classrooms. That bottom picture is an example of an outdoor classroom. That classroom is a bothy that's about an hour's hike away from the nearest road. We take you there to really get you to experience what it's like to be making projects really on location, where the things you need to really have up your sleeve is a sense of reliance, confidence in what you're doing, and making sure that you know and understand all the kit. Again, more of this in a moment, but I'll just kind of tag it here and continue to do so. Our campuses are quite unique. We are on 2 World Heritage sites. The Brampton Road campus, which is where all the media programs are based, has Hadrian's Wall literally running through the centre of the campus, and also we have the absolutely amazing Lake District, which is also a World Heritage site, both in terms of landscape and in terms of culture. So really amazing places to come and learn. So I mentioned a bit about equipment. I won't get too geeky about it, but just to let you know, there's some fabulous equipment that we have, and that equipment will easily meet your needs. So we've got 4K cinema cameras, we've got gimbals and tracks and dollies, we've got a range of radio mics, and really high-end audio recording. Although everything we're talking about and I'm talking about is really talking about the visual, we'll never forget how important sound is to that storytelling process. So we've got a whole ranges of bits of kit, and actually we're hoping those bits of kit are really about beginning to encourage you and beginning to get you to just push yourself. We have a fully kitted out TV studio, which interestingly has been designed and has the capability to be stripped out and to be turned into an OB unit. So again, This is really important to have both of those single camera skills and those multi-camera skills. And we really encourage students to really stretch themselves when they're thinking about the types of projects that they might want to get into. Um, so um, this TV studio is the kind of place where you can make those magazine shows. And again, that sense of a TV magazine show is as true of film and TV as it is of wildlife. So again, lots of encouragement for students to be in both those spaces and really learning the discipline of studio. And just for a bit of fun, we have 4K drones. So we run our own flight school. There's a flight school just beginning to happen. So for a number of years, we've used drones. We started out using them more in the outdoor programs, the wildlife programs, that allowed us to get the camera to places that were really difficult. But anybody that's watching anything now will see how influential drones have become in terms of any kind of narrative type of filmmaking. And actually, you know, they're also a great bit of kit. They're lots of fun to use, and you can just get some absolutely amazing shots. So as well as all the very standard stuff, we have a long tradition of using drones and drones being part of that equipment. So I thought I would just kind of pause. There's a lot of lots of bits there about kit and the kind of the nuts and bolts of studying the program. So I just thought I would kind of stop and pause for a moment and just give you a sense of the kind of stuff that our students are involved with. So just in these photos here, we have students that are guys in the wetsuits. We go to one of our world-renowned coastal areas on the northeast coast of England, near Newcastle upon Tyne, where they have something called the Farne Islands. And what the guys get to do is they get to dive with and make films around puffins and around seals. So there's some really interesting stuff done there. That's not anything that you're graded on. That's just an experiential thing. We send students out to do that. It is mainly the wildlife students that go, but film and TV students have often been interested in that. You can see that's some students that have had a photographic exhibition. So that's those guys standing by their images. So that's students that have put together an exhibition, invited members of the public. And then above that photograph, we've got some images of students that are on location, shooting and developing their work on location. So what that student experience does, and just to reiterate some of that, it helps build community, a sense of community, a desire to be part of a group. And that helps produce really great work. And from that, we've developed, there's award ceremonies and public screenings and exhibitions. We've had films from this program go on to be screened at worldwide festivals. And as I said before, we actually really encourage that. And over the years, that's paid off. We've had students really come out and win awards. In the last 8 years, we've won 10 Royal Television Societies, regional television societies. So that's across the north of England. So that's up against 15 other, film schools. So that's something that we are very proud of. The other thing that we're very proud of is maintaining and developing those links. So I mentioned Keith Partridge earlier. So he is, an Emmy award-winning filmmaker, and his work transcends both wildlife, outdoor adventure, and drama filmmaking. We have a long-standing relationship with a location manager and location scout, and there'll be a bit more of that again in a second, called Mali Chung. And he's worked on Star Wars, Skyfall's, Avengers. In fact, when he worked on Avengers Infinity War, when they were shooting up in Edinburgh, he was managing that shoot, and he took 4 students up to Edinburgh to be part of that Avenger crew. So we're doing those kind of activities, but we keep those workshops and those relationships going with people like the Royal Television Society with Screen Skills, and we have a long relationship with the Mill in London, which is a post-production house, and we've had students engaged in work experience and going backwards and forwards out of the mill. So we're doing that kind of stuff as well. We tend to also have, and this is perhaps more focused on the wildlife programme, try and keep very key connections with some of those organisations around us. So the Carlisle Natural History Society or the Wildlife Trust and the RSPB, we have really strong connections with that, which gives students opportunities to hone and develop their skills, very specifically focused on wildlife tasks. So I thought this would be another chance just to stop talking and to show you a bit of work. So this is a kind of a best of reel, and it's called Unleash Your Creativity. So everything you saw there was made by students, and I think it's testament to the quality of the work that all of that looked so amazingly professional. And I think we're very lucky where we're situated at the University of Cumbria, and the reason I say that is that list of films that are just, and the list could be 10 times longer, of the kind of films that have been made in the last couple of years, 3 or 4 years, and the students that get the opportunity to use those locations. In fact, all of these films listed, students from the University of Cumbria have worked on. So Star Wars, Macbeth, Peter Rabbit, Swallows in the Amazons, and Doolittle, because we're in this space, in this location. And we give the students the confidence that I just spoke about to really kind of get their work seen, and I think it's also been noticed by the BBC. The BBC a number of years ago came and made a film about the students on our wildlife media programme. They had the opportunity to work with the BBC, and the BBC did a little bit about them and made a little bit of film about them working. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you an interview with one of the wildlife media program team who's talks about that experience of students working with the BBC on Countryfile.
So Countryfile invited us to go and film down at Cumbria Wildlife Trust Falshire Moss, and they wanted to do a piece on the next generation of filmmakers for the 30th anniversary programme, which is pretty spectacular really. So 9 students went down from all over the country who are studying here from across all 3 years to go and film the wildlife there. So I had a recce day on the Wednesday where we just filmed wildlife and landscape solely, did some time lapsing, and then we went back on Friday to do some stuff with Ellie. So the students got to film the wildlife, show it on Countryfile, but also some of them got interviewed about the work they're doing or the skills they've been learning and how this sort of wildlife media is changing their lives. So at the university we try and bring in as much industry as possible, but to actually see it operating in the field from something like Countryfile, which is getting millions of viewers, is amazing. I think the presenters and the camera operators and sound crew were so supportive of the students, any questions they were answered, so they got a real insight into exactly what went into producing a Countryfile insert. A lot of students come into the do because it's quite glamorous, BBC and David Attenborough put it, but a lot of them don't quite know which direction they want to take. So seeing these actual industry-based things, that it does give them the light at the end of the tunnel to see, oh, well, I could go into a role as a director or a camera operator or a sound person or even a presenter. So with the smaller numbers, you get to know each student personally. So I'll know what wildlife they've been out spotting or photographing, and you just build up that relationship, which helps us to teach them, but also helps them through their career.
So in the backdrop of that interview with Kane, who's one of the wildlife team, you got to see our campus, and that's our Brampton Road campus, which is the centre for the media programs. But and I've mentioned this before. It's a really extraordinary campus. It allows students to be in the centre of town, but it's also got a World Heritage Site, and I think, excuse me, that's really, really important to think about those parts of coming to study, and thinking about the campus as being really part of it. The campus has got character, and actually when you come to our campus you get that sense, and you get that sense of being in quite a different place that allows you to do some really interesting creative work. Back to what I said right at the beginning, that it's a place that you can begin to develop your ideas and begin to have your ideas kind of mature and begin to develop a little further. I'm just conscious of time, so I've got a number of things that I just want to also say about the university. It's not just about the program, but much more about the university, and it's, you know, we're ranked in the top 25%, you know, of what uni's student choice in 2019. We're in the top 10 for the quality of our education by that, you know, the Times Higher Education Impact rankings. 9 out of 10 of our graduates are in employment or further study within 6 months of graduating. As a university, we have degree awarding powers, which is really, really important. And those research degree awarding powers are the thing that begins to feed back. It feeds back into all of that learning, and that sense of knowledge, how knowledge travels between researchers and students and academics, and that in that whole environment, that community of practice is absolutely key. That's very true of the media programs, where there's traditional research, but there's also research as practice going on. But just thinking about how all of those relationships work is really, really important. And as you would expect, I think it's also important to always kind of just mention that sense of those resources beyond the technical resources that students have. We also have all those academic resources. Thought it might also be quite useful just taking a moment just to kind of explain what happens, how it runs. So the university academic year is 2 semesters of 12 teaching weeks. They're running from mid-September to mid-December for the first semester, and for semester 2, mid-January to mid-July. Generally speaking, it's 6 modules spread across 3 modules each year, but there is always a little bit of flexibility. I popped in some photos there of those students on the Farne Islands going out to the puffins and out to the seals. So just to reinforce all of that sense that this is not the kind of program, if you want to sit behind a desk, you should be coming on. I thought it would also be really useful to talk about the whole range of films and projects that our recent graduates have gone to work on. So they've worked on Star Wars, 1917, Rocketman. In fact, I won't read the list. I'll let you guys read the list yourselves. But just a really strong sense that our graduating students don't just get jobs. They get those jobs that they aspired to get. They get those jobs that are the ones that they dreamt of, working on real, genuine blockbusters. Now, they're big kind of headline things. There's students that are just also quietly getting on with creating their own work in the background, particularly in factual wildlife production, where they're just developing and working as researchers at the BBC and at Channel 4 and at various other broadcasters and production houses, developing all of those skills. But I think, these are the headlines, I guess. So that's me finishing up now. I'll take any questions. What I'll do is I'll come out of this presentation and see if anybody has any questions. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. And if anyone does have any questions, my name's Michael Mitchell, and I'm from the University of Cumbria, and I'm really happy to answer any questions you have. Easy enough to find on the World Wide Web. I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Michael.
Is there anybody